The last thing I remember was being chased through the asylum by a bloodied meat cleaver wielding maniac. I awoke to the sound of birds tweeting outside what used to be my bedroom window. I sat up and looked around. Where was I? What had happened? I had no idea. But as I stood up and brushed myself off, I realized that this place looked all too familiar. It was the abandoned Blackwood Asylum that I'd been exploring with a group of friends just a few days before. Had I passed out and somehow made it back here? But how? The front door was locked, and there was no way in. Then I remembered the chase. Had he caught me and brought me back here? Was I about to die? All these thoughts raced through my head as I tried to piece together exactly what had happened. But the more I thought about it, the more confused I became. There were so many missing pieces to the puzzle. First, where was my camera? I always brought my camera with me when I explored, and I couldn't remember leaving it anywhere. Second, where was the guy with the meat cleaver? Had he left? Or was he still hiding somewhere waiting for me to wake up so he could kill me? And finally, how was I still alive? If he had caught me, why didn't he just end me right then and there? Well, I wasn't going to sit around and find out, so I turned and ran. I sprinted down the long hallway, weaving between the beds that lined the walls, desperate to find an exit. But they were all boarded up. Just as I began to panic, I saw a door at the end of the hall that I hadn't seen before. Maybe it was new, maybe it was there, and I just never noticed it. Either way, I didn't have time to ponder that. I had to get out of here. Hope surged through me as I reached the door and pushed it open. This must be it. I could feel it, but as I stepped through, my heart sank. I was met with nothing but another long hallway, just like the one I had come from. This place was starting to give me a huge headache. I rubbed my temples and walked down the hallway, until I came across a ladder propped up against a wall. I climbed it, expecting to find a trapdoor, but instead I found a loose floorboard. I lifted it, revealing a dark hole underneath. I peered in and saw a set of stairs leading down into darkness. Curiosity got the better of me, and I climbed down, one step at a time. At the bottom, I found myself in a small room with a single door on the other side. I walked over and opened it, stepping out into what appeared to be the asylum's basement. It was then that I heard a noise behind me. I spun around to see what it was, but whatever it was gone. I shrugged it off and continued exploring. As I made my way through the asylum, I came across a metal cabinet with a small window on top. I opened it up, revealing a dark space inside. I shone my phone's flashlight into the darkness and saw something lying in the shadows. I reached in and pulled it out. It was my camera. Relief washed over me. I couldn't believe how worried I'd been about this stupid camera. But as I held it in my hands, I noticed something strange. On the screen was a photo of me standing in the exact same spot I'd just found the camera. But it wasn't the photo I had taken. I had taken hundreds of photos that day, and none of them showed this exact spot. I took a closer look at the image. There was the door I had come through, the ladder leaning against the wall, and even the loose floorboard. I felt a chill run down my spine. How was this possible? Had I really been here before? As I made my way deeper into the asylum, I came across the bloodied meat cleaver. My heart skipped a beat. Was this really happening? Or was I just having some kind of crazy dream? But as I reached out to touch it, I felt something wet on my fingers. I pulled back my hand to see what was on it. It was blood, real blood. I stumbled back, knocking over a nearby chair. The sound echoed through the silent asylum. I was alone in this place with a bloodied meat cleaver and now blood on my hands. I was in grave danger. Started to explore again, desperate to find a way out. As I rounded a corner, I saw a pair of feet in front of me. I stopped dead in my tracks. Was I finally going insane? I couldn't see anyone else, but those feet were definitely there. I slowly approached them, and as I got closer, I saw that they were attached to a person. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. It was just a mannequin. But as I rounded the corner, I saw something that made my blood run cold. It was the guy from before, the guy who had chased me through the asylum with a meat cleaver. He was standing there staring at me with a maniacal grin on his face. And in his hand, he was holding the bloodied meat cleaver. He took a step towards me, and I backed away, my heart pounding in my chest. One had to get out of there. I turned and ran, weaving between the beds and desks as I tried to find an exit. But it seemed like every time I got close, the asylum changed its layout. I could hear the maniac behind me, his heavy footsteps echoing through the halls. I could tell he was getting closer. I could almost feel his hot breath on my neck. I could hear him breathing heavily, but I refused to stop running. Had to keep moving, had to keep trying to escape. Then I saw it, a sliver of light at the end of a tunnel. I surged forward, desperate to reach it. As I burst through the opening, I found myself in a small courtyard. I was free. I stumbled to my feet and ran as fast as I could, not daring to look back. I didn't want to see what was behind me. I didn't want to know if he was still chasing me. I kept running until I was sure he couldn't follow me. Only then did I dare to stop and catch my breath. As I stood there panting, I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. I had to get away from that place, from the asylum and the maniac who lived there. But as I turned to leave, I saw a dark figure standing at the edge of the trees. Was it him? Had he followed me? I froze in my tracks, my eyes fixed on the figure. It didn't move. It just stood there watching me. I couldn't tell if it was real or just a figment of my imagination, but as I watched, it slowly began to walk towards me. My heart raced as I took off running again. I didn't care where I was going, only that I had to get away. I ran blindly, desperate to escape the feeling of being hunted. Finally, as the sun began to set, I collapsed on a nearby hill, my body aching, my mind numb. I didn't want to run anymore. I didn't want to hide anymore. I was exhausted. I stared up at the sky, feeling utterly drained. I had to get help. I had to tell someone what had happened to me. But would anyone believe me? Would they think I was crazy? I had been running for so long that I couldn't remember exactly what had happened. All I knew was that I had to get home, that I had to tell someone. As the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I stumbled to my feet and started walking. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I had to keep moving. I had to get away from the asylum, away from the maniac with the meat cleaver. I walked for what felt like hours, my feet growing sore, my legs heavy. I was so tired. I just wanted to sleep, but I knew I couldn't. I had to keep moving. I had to get home before he found me. Just when I thought I couldn't go any further, I saw a light in the distance. Hope surged through me. I wasn't sure if it was a house or a business, but I knew I had to get to it. I stumbled towards the light, my eyes fixed on it. As I got closer, I saw that it was a small cabin. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should knock on the door, but I knew I had no choice. I needed help, and this was my only option. I knocked on the door, my hand shaking. I waited, my heart pounding in my chest, but no one answered. I knocked again, louder this time. Still no answer. I tried the doorknob. It was unlocked. I stepped inside. As I looked around, I realized that I wasn't alone. There was someone in the cabin, someone who had been watching me the entire time. I turned to face the voice and saw a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at me.